Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Welcome along, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Wednesday. That means Dylan Sinn is with us, as he is. Dylan, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Jim. I missed the last couple of weeks, so I'm glad to be back.
Glad to have you. A lot going on in those couple of weeks along the Indiana community, of course, but plenty of other things happening. The draft is ready to get going. Basketball continues. AAU has gotten started. So, man, there's no rest for the wicked. Man, it just continues to roll on, and a little less calmer. It's a little calmer, which is nice. And I think that should remain calm. I don't foresee anything that's going to send us in a whirlwind again. So hopefully we can go through the summer on cruise control.
Yeah, there's not going to be an Indiana roster move every couple days for the foreseeable future like there was for the last couple weeks.
I'm still anticipating who they're going to redshirt someone because with Tamar Bates, that puts them one over basically. Right. And of course, I think that's going to be either Anthony Leal or Trey Galloway. So not that matters. It's just another roster. That's the last roster move I think that we will see this year. And as they continue to move forward and recruiting for next year, Alec Lasley has joined us, and then we got the Run-In Slam coming up this weekend in Fort Wayne. Uh-huh. The Hoosier.com will be there. I'm sure you'll be there. This is the second weekend for that, right?
No, I believe it's one weekend.
That's right. That was this. Yeah. I was thinking that it was going on last weekend. It's this weekend.
No, there was another tournament last week.
Westfield.
Westfield. That's right. Yeah, and so this week will be the Run-In Slam, which was, I believe was canceled last year or was severely curtailed. So it'll be nice to have that back. And it's always you walk into the facility, the Spiece Fieldhouse, which is downtown Fort Wayne, and there are just so many teams playing at once. It's a madhouse, and it's a whole lot of fun. So, Run-In Slam is always one of kind of it's basically the kickoff to the summer. You can set your watch to it, kind of the start of the AAU season for a lot of these kids who finished playing high school basketball and are now kind of moving into the AAU season.
Who all? I'm trying to think of who all is going to be there. CJ Gunn, I think that his squad that they're playing there. Who are some of the other people of note that the fans would want to know about?
Yeah, I mean, we have probably Jalen Washington from Gary West. I would assume that he'll be there. I'm not sure exactly what team he plays for, but basically anyone who is a big-time recruit from the state of Indiana generally plays in that one. And then you have other guys coming in from around the country, depending on what team they play for. I know a couple local guys that will likely be there, Connor Segian, Jalen Jackson, guys like that. But yeah, it is the big AAU tournament in the country this week. So it's always a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool to have that up in Fort Wayne. How long has that been going on?
Oh, it's been quite a while. Yeah, there have been, I believe, at least a couple decades now. They do a really good job of organizing it. It's always extremely well organized. And these kids, they seem to enjoy playing up in Fort Wayne. So it's always a fun weekend.
It's fortunate that nothing else in the world is going on that day, except for the Hoosier Gym All-Star reunion and the Kentucky Derby. It's a busy weekend this weekend. Man, I just didn't. There's so much going on, and it's such a difference from a year ago when we had nothing. Well, I guess, yeah, we had reached that point now, I guess, hadn't we? So there was nothing. Everything that was going on now had been canceled. So you're going to have the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks on that Friday and Saturday. You've got the Run-In Slam going on up here. see what something else. The Hoosier Gym All-Star that I just mentioned. That I don't even know who all's going to be there. I haven't seen that list yet, and I've never gotten to go to that because it doesn't work out time-wise, man. And it's like, man, I've been to the Hoosier Gym, of course, but that's a cool thing that they do. But I don't even know who all's in that. I haven't seen the roster. Have you seen that yet?
I have not yet. No, I'm looking forward to it. That's always a cool event, also. So,
but it's the same day as the Run and Slam.
It is, yeah, unfortunately. So people are gonna have to kind of divide their time on that one, I suppose. But it'll be nice to have both of them back. You know, like you said, last year we didn't have either of them, so it'll absolutely be nice to have it back.
Absolutely. What else has been going on with you? You've been gone for a couple of weeks.
Well, I got my first dose of my vaccine, so that's good. But yeah, basically just following all the Indiana news here as the IU filled out their roster. They are at the limit of 13 scholarships, which is good. They were below that limit for the last couple seasons, so it's good to see they have a little bit more depth going into next season. But yeah, that's kind of, and then preparing for the NFL draft as well, which starts on Thursday. So we're getting close to there. We have a couple local kids up from Northeast Indiana area that have a very good chance of getting drafted. So we're excited about that.
And then, of course, Indiana makes another offer yesterday, and you can get all of that at thehoosier.com. Alec Lasley is on top of that. They extended an offer to it's a 2022 kid. A lot of 2022 offers out there. And another point guard. I mean, they are point guard heavy now. They got 3 point guards right now on the roster.
Yeah.
And only one do I see leaving. That's Rob Finney, right? I
right.
mean, if you're considered Rob, so you've got the other ones are very young. I think they've offered another point guard. But Seth Trimble's a point guard. He's from Wisconsin. He's ranked number 109 in the Rivals 150 class, 2020 rankings. He's number 32 at the point guard spot. As a junior, he averaged over 23 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, and 3.5 assists a game. He also shot 55% overall and 35% from threes, 75% at the line. Needs to get that up. That's a little odd, but he's the younger brother of former North Carolina wing J.P. Toccato. So there's that. He's got offers from Indiana, Purdue, Wisconsin, Marquette, Iowa State, Arizona State, California, Creighton, Illinois, Iowa, USC, Nebraska, and TCU. So he's in demand. He's an athletic, very, very athletic guard. He uses that to his advantage. So he sounds like our quick way. That's, again, something Indiana has just not had in 4 years. I mean, it's exciting to see these pieces that they're looking at because they're not going to get them all, but they're going to get their share. And all of them are bringing some great things to the table.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is they're casting a fairly wide net, it seems like, and talk about how many point guards they have. Some of these guys, they're point guards, but they also can score. And so when they get to IU, some of them will probably move to shooting guard or play some on the wing, depending on how big they are. And so it's good to just have depth at guard, guys that can score off the dribble, guys that can fill it up from the outside. And you pile those guys on top of each other, so you have depth at that position. And that's something that's been kind of lacking over the last few years. Just guys who can create their own shot. IU hasn't had many of those, and they lost one. The one they did have last season was Armand Franklin, and they lost him. So they need to rebuild that, and it's good that they're kind of casting a wide net in that kind of in that pursuit, which is good.
Well, he's got good size. He's 6'3", and he's actually more of a scoring guard right now than a distributor. But he's got good vision. He makes smart decisions with the ball, but he can get to the rim. Very important. Indiana, again, something they haven't had or used as someone getting to the rim and whatever reason, whether it's to kick and dish or whatever. But it's always great to have someone that can do that. It's like we haven't had that slashing wing. So adding the pieces, the athletic pieces that they are going to need to be very successful, obviously. But so there you go. There's your update on the latest offer. But man, if you think Indiana's not staying busy, you're out of your mind. That's another offer for the 22 class. So they're on it, and they're not going to have very many open scholarships next year. If you stop and think about it, there's only one senior. You got Rob Finney and Trace Jackson Davis. Now you're always going to, in this day and age, I don't care what the situation is. There's always going to be someone that probably has come here this year and leaves next year. It's just, you're going to have to get used to that. Because as you bring in a ton of talent, and I think that they're going to be bringing in a ton more of talent, you're probably going to start seeing more transfers in Indiana, because the more talent you have, there's only so much time. And now they have the availability with the one-time transfer in the portal window. Boom. They can find them a spot. So just, there's going to be good and bad coming up to this is all I'm saying. So get used to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important point, is that guys are going to do what's best for them. And so Indiana, you're able to go get these guys from the portal and really bolster your depth and bring in guys that can play immediately. But also you're able to go get guys to replace ones that leave, and you're going to have people that leave because they want to have more playing time, and that's nothing wrong with that. Indiana is going to have a little bit more depth, and guys are going to get squeezed out of minutes, and they're going to decide to go find a place where they can play a little bit more, and there's no problem with that. And then Indiana is going to have to go into the portal or go into recruiting and find someone else like they did this year, and we saw that they lost 3 players from last year's team to transfer, and they were able to fill those spots because they are able to go out and get guys that want to come play at Indiana, want to play big minutes here. And I think that's something you're going to see a little bit more roster turnover going forward. And it's going to be more on the coaches to create chemistry on a year-over-year basis, because you're probably going to have not as many teams getting older together. You're going to have guys moving on a little bit quicker, I think.
Leon notes that the red shirt counts against the 13 scholarships. Mm-hmm. So then that doesn't do them any good in that regard, if that's actuality. I thought it did not, but
yeah, I think it does, but 13's the limit. So I think they're at the limit rather than being one over.
Right, I got you.
Yeah, so because they were at 11 the last couple of years, and they had 2 available.
Tim mentions Tamar Bates. His nickname is The Scoop, from rapper and comedian Fat Man Scoop Isaac Freeman, because his mom said he likes to eat too much. Kind of funny. Forrest joins us. Kenneth says Trimble, based solely on his highlight video, looks like a very good, possibly underranked point guard with size that can score at will. Well, he's a 6'3". That's a nice size point guard, but he's more of a scoring guard now, but it sounds like a combo guard. He can do both and get to the rim. Very important. Will be great to add to the roster if they get him. I used to be able to recruit top talent from around the country, recruiting the top athletes. Doesn't win titles anymore. Times have changed from mass gaining guy. Yeah, you got to – there's all kinds that goes into winning the big ones. I'm not sure IU has a point guard. Well, yeah, you've got Finney and Lander, and they've got another one added. So, yeah, they've got the 3 point guards now. Bates, I think, will be my new favorite player from Tim. One, because I like IU. They make him a man. He likes to play harder, plays for championships, go where he can play for minutes. I guess was that some of the comments he made?
Yeah, basically, he said he does want to go. Well, first of all, he does care a lot about defense. That's something that he really emphasized repeatedly,
which is unusual to hear from a player.
Yeah,
today especially. Seriously.
And I mean, that's something that I believe if you watch his highlight video, he was very good on defense in high school as well. So he's a long arm, super athletic guy that really tries hard on that end of the floor. So I can see why he'll be a favorite pretty early. I think he'll get on the floor relatively early. He's just too athletic
late
to keep
for a break. We got to hit it back with Cal Neddenriep after this. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Get out there and see what they've got. Back with more right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used. Thank you. My little piece of bacon. Did Alec get a hold of you?
He did, yeah. So
I didn't talk to him soon.
Yeah, he got a hold of me. I'm not sure because he seemed to think Saturday was the day that he was missing. But unfortunately, I will not be there that day. I'm going to Notre Dame spring football game.
Is there somebody up there like a stringer or anything?
That's a good question.
Because we would just pay them.
Yeah. I could ask that we have a stringer that we use at our paper that I could ask and see if he wants to do it.
Or anybody that does it from any of them. Anybody that's capable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ask and see if they want to do it for sure. The other thing is, unfortunately, I don't know if my newspaper would allow me to do that with my contract. I don't know if I'm allowed to write for anywhere else while I'm writing for the paper. So, but yeah, I'm excited to go back on Friday. I think I'll kind of make an appearance Friday night.
I hate that I can't go. God dang it! My daughter's got. I thought soccer was done because she plays school soccer, but now she's finishing up club soccer. I'm like, dude, I thought we were done with this. So I got to drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky for the weekend. Next weekend, I got to be in Lexington, Kentucky for the weekend.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm like, man, I got stuff to do. But I'd rather be with her.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly. I still have to look at the rosters and see who all is going to be there. I would assume that Jalen Washington will be there, and that'll at least be someone to watch because that's the guy. You're talking 2022. That's the guy Indiana needs to get. 5-star kid from Indiana, considering Indiana. Mike Woodson's going to have to put in a lot of work on him, I think. I don't know what relationship he had with Archie, but.
Why do you think he has a better relationship with someone already?
I don't know. I haven't really heard a whole lot about it. I just know he's considering IU.
The thing is, hard to get those kids from up
Ordinary
there.
destination, French Lick, West Baden, Indiana. You'll find great places to visit, to stay, to dine, and to play. We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dylan Sinn as well from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. As we were just talking about the Fort Wayne Run and Slam that's coming up, waiting for Kyle Neddenriep to join us. I would assume he'll be up there. Man, you talk about somebody I feel sorry for. That dude probably has to go to more stuff than anybody in the world. I know how bad it is. Because I'm like, we don't stop. So I guess it's the same. It's just different. It's crazy.
Yeah,
he'll be joining us in a little bit. But yeah, and you think that now's the time that you get a break. Well, you get a break in the fact that the heart attack stress level is not there now. Now it's just the hard work. Hey, Kyle, I was just talking about. I was like, I feel sorry for people like Kyle. But I'm like, hell, us too. I said, it's different now because the AAU's here and it's not hectic like it was. I said, but now it's just all this is the not heart attack, stress, stroke out time of the year. It's just a normal time. But we were talking about the Run and Slam coming up this weekend and it never stops. Are you able to go up to that?
I'm actually going to be in Tennessee, to be brutally honest with you. I'm
going to be in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to my son. My 12-year-old's got a baseball tournament. It's one of they go out of state once a year. So I'm going to be down there enjoying that. So no, I'm not going to be there, but I'll be thinking of everybody up there.
Exactly, me too. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I can't cover it because my daughter, even though she's a senior and plays. And she's done because she's a senior and their season finished. Well, now they got their last club. I'm like, man, I thought we were done with this. But so yeah, but there's so much going on. But we're grateful because a year ago we had nothing, zero going on, and getting this stuff back is so cool. And now our complaints are we can't get to things. That is a great complaint to have.
Yeah, it's. I was joking with somebody the other day. I said the AAU recruiting hype is back in full force on Twitter, and it's fun. It's fun to see. I enjoy it and reading it and being back out at the games again, and it's fun. It's funny. Some of the stuff you see, but it's good. It's good. It's back. I wish. Here before too long, we'll get the coaches able to come back out, and that'll really help out a lot of kids in their recruitment. So, it's back, and it's good for these kids to be able to play. Obviously, we're in a different place a year ago than we are now. So it's good to see some of these guys being able to be recruited and get their names out there. And there's a lot of interesting, talking to some coaches just last night on the AAU scene. A lot of guys who are playing well, and I actually wrote a story on Lincoln Hale, who he's not an AAU now. He's a graduated senior, but going through a little bit of I think what a lot of guys are feeling as far as, with everybody in the portal. He was committed to Indiana State. He had a coaching change there, and had to kind of redo everything all over again. And now he's trying to find a new home, and is having trouble. It's just not trouble, but it's just kind of late in the game to try to do that when 16 months ago he was committed to Indiana State, had signed and everything, and then that's kind of the business of college basketball though. So talking to him about that I thought was interesting, just to hear what he's going through. But for the high school kids, it's going to be different. It's going to be the coaches are definitely recruiting the portal first and the high school players second. So that's something we're just kind of I think we've talked about that before, but just kind of a new landscape of recruiting entirely.
Yeah, that's something else that we've talked about. You've got the one-time transfer, the portal, all of that going on that's affected all these kids. The not having to be able to be seen last year. It's recruiting is going to be kind of a mess. I think for the lower end kids, they're going to have to be searching for places with everyone transferring. So hopefully that'll work out. Jalen Washington was talking about him a little bit ago, and there was Alan. Oh, that was not the right comment. Where was it? It had a stain on my shirt. But anyway, said the region seems to favor the guys. Purdue seems to get a lot of guys out of the region, which is obviously true. And obviously being from Gary, that's going to be has always been a tough get for Indiana. But I think Mike Woodson's a guy that can get that done.
Yeah, I think, they made some, he was interested anyway, I think. And it has been traditionally, it's been Gary's been a Purdue, Purdue hotbed for recruiting.
And it should be for location. You get that.
Yeah, exactly. And but we've seen the reversal too with Purdue going down and getting Trey Kaufman out of Silver Creek. That's normally IU's area. So, I think IU can reverse it a little bit, and it's one individual case, so it's not like it's necessarily a trend or anything, but I think they're in a good place with Jalen Washington. It is interesting with Purdue, you kind of going through as, Braden Smith got offered by Purdue the other night, the Westfield guard in the 2022 class. And, I was kind of going through and looking at what Painter's done here recently in state. And obviously he brings in Kaufman and last in this past class. He's got Fletcher Lawyer, who I think is a great player out of Homestead, committed in that next class. And then, in Purdue, it seems like when Matt Painter has made offers here in the last few years, they've been, pretty careful about who they offer and going after, somebody who really fits what they are as a program. And I thought that was interesting. They were the first high major to jump on Braden Smith. And I wondered when that was going to happen. I thought it might not be till the summer. Yeah. But the fact that it happened now, it makes you wonder what IU is going to do with him, and how much his recruitment really blows up. He's such a fun player to watch. The questions, I think, were more, defensively, kind of like Luke Brown was, defensively. And, I think he's a better athlete than Luke Brown, probably better hops and all that sort of thing. But, athleticism and stuff like that, size, but clearly Purdue thinks he can fit. And, it makes you wonder how many other high majors are going to feel the same way after watching him these next couple months.
Jeremy says Jalen is no Glenn Robinson. I will never understand just getting a kid because he's a 5-star. OG and Jawan were 3 stars and fit better. Well, that's not.
I will
case,
say
but...
I've seen Jalen Washington play. He's quite good. So the 5-star is it's I believe
it's deserved.
In this case.
Yeah. It's not because he's a great talent.
Yes. But Kyle, I wanted to ask, as we're talking about Purdue here, they just got a kid from up your way. Brian Waddell is officially a Boilermaker now that he got the offer.
Oh, did he join?
Right after the state championship there. So, do you think he's a fit at Purdue?
I do, and obviously there's a family connection with Matt. His dad played with Glenn Robinson in that era, of Purdue, basketball, and I did a story on Brian and talked to Matt quite a bit at length there right before the end of the season, and it's funny, with Brian, he wasn't really, even though he's got the last name Waddell, and Matt was a big time recruit. I mean, he went on official visits to UCLA and North Carolina, and he was kind of a more of like the 5-star type than his son was. Brian was kind of a late bloomer, and I didn't know if I thought there might be an option for Brian to maybe walk on at Purdue. But when they made that offer, I talked to Brian right after that. He said it was going to be really hard to turn down. The one thing with that, though, if you mentioned that, Dylan, about is it a good fit? He's going to have to redshirt unless something changes. They're planning on redshirting him his freshman year. He understands that. That was kind of part of the deal of them offering, was that it's under the understanding that he's going to redshirt, which he's okay with. He needs to get stronger, and they're going to be loaded next year. So it's a good chance for him just to, be a part of the program and just get stronger, and then come in the next year and have a role. So I do think he's a good fit. I mean, if you look at his efficiency numbers and the competition he played against, I mean, he just had a great senior year, had a really good junior year for a fairly young team, as he was coming off an injury. So, I think I can't imagine he won't be able to find the floor in some role for Purdue. The one thing he was kind of battling back and forth was, do I take this great opportunity as a Purdue fan since he was a kid, or do I go try to play somewhere at a mid-major, and he had options, had several offers, mid-major and low-major, and go play right away where there's more of a chance. So, but, once he got that offer, I think it's pretty clear, what he really wanted to do. And I do think he'll be a player for them, and a very, very good program guy. I mean, if you talk to anybody at Carmel, he's the kind of guy you want in your program. So again, it seems like Matt Painter's been able to get those guys. The question about the 5-stars, it's like, just because you get a 5-star doesn't mean it's not a bad thing. It's you want 5 stars in your program, but it's more about finding talented guys who fit what you do, not just throwing talented guys together, but talented guys who fit what you do. And I think they're getting those guys. Kaufman and First, I think, are those definitely those type of guys like Waddell too. So whatever they're doing, it's been working there in recruiting.
Well, I can tell you part of what they've been doing is having Archie Miller in Bloomington, and let's just not cut any. That's just the flat truth. That's the only reason they get Trey Kaufman. I promise you. If Mike Woodson or anybody, if Mickey Mouse is in that seat, Trey Kaufman comes to Indiana. But so that's not going to happen anymore. And it's allowed Purdue to get a great grasp on or better grasp, I should say, not that they didn't have one, but on state recruiting. And like you said, getting a Trey Kaufman, that's just a jewel, man. And it's a jewel that they can use. It doesn't matter if they get another one, they can still use it. But it's also, they've been able to build a great team because of it. And got more coming in. Now, Waddell, I don't know if they don't win that state championship, I don't think he gets that offer personally. I think he ends up being a walk-on somewhere, but I think he is one of those kids that is probably going to work into being one that is a scholarship player regardless, because you can just tell he's a hard worker and is just going to do what it takes. Indiana, they're bouncing around, but it's a completely different look Kyle, of recruiting wise, we talked earlier about they just offered the kid that we talked about, the Trimble kid. They are really going guard happy with offers. This is a 2022 kid, so a lot of guard. He's a scoring guard, but he's actually supposed to be a point guard. So a lot of point guards. So the direction is definitely changing in Indiana.
Yeah, definitely. And just one more thing on Waddell too. I think, I look at him sort of like Jake LaRavia a little bit, who he was at Lawrence Central. He's sort of under recruited, I always thought. Goes to Indiana State, has a great couple of seasons, mostly great, and then ends up at Wake Forest.
Yeah,
I kind of see Brian as maybe a similar type of a player.
Absolutely.
And maybe Brian, if Indiana State's situation was different and they didn't have a new coach, maybe that's where he ends up going. But I do think he's got the potential. Obviously Jake's going to play in the ACC. So I think Brian, he's a guy who's sort of like that, maybe needs a couple of years, but he's a 4-year guy. He's going to be a 4-year guy in your program. So anyway, on that front, I think that's maybe a similar comparison to a player similar to him. But yeah, Indiana, you're always going to get a boost, I think in recruiting when you hire a new coach. There's a lot of energy right now with the program, and it's funny looking back, the end of the Tom Crean era is everybody, I would always hear from everybody, like, why are we not getting the in-state guys? Why, what's going on? And that ended up being, I think the kind of the thing that got him out the door probably faster than anything else, at the end of it. And I had a long conversation with Tom Crean where, I'd wrote that after he was let go and he wasn't real happy about it, but it's the truth. But
what was he not happy about? Because it was the truth. I mean, did he want to act like that wasn't the case? Because they did not have. He was going out and recruiting other players, which somewhat successfully. And he was. I've always given him credit. He could spot talent and develop and get those guys to develop. Now he had some big strikeouts with Grant Galan and Tim Priller, but OG and Jawan, Victor Oladipo were all 3 stars and below. And OG was not even on a roster at the AAU event he found him at in Missouri. So I give him credit for that. But yeah, he if he could have maintained the ability to get these Indiana kids, I doubt he'd still be here, but it would have changed his course maybe.
Well, yeah, and it was just, I agree with you. I think he did find and develop players who, were off the radar, completely. And, I think he did a good job with that. But, it was almost the perception of why are we not getting these guys right in our, Kyle Guy was probably the biggest example of, a guy who I think everybody
wanted to come to Indiana.
Yeah, expected to go there, had a family connection there. And then, honestly, even when he committed to Virginia, I remember that. I was surprised, and I didn't know if that would even stick, and it ended up sticking. And, and obviously we know what happened after that, but it was just kind of pointing out, I remember that article is just kind of pointing out, here's all these Mr. Basketballs over the years who didn't go to IU. And, Tom, when I talked to him, just kind of, laid out every reason why each of those individuals didn't go there, in
his mind.
Yeah. And that's fair. I mean, you definitely, I've got an open line but the bottom line is none of those guys went to IU for a good stretch of time after Cody Zeller. And that was pretty much it for Mr. Basketball. Gary Harris and, Zach Irvin and Trey Lyles and, Swanigan Guy. I'm trying to remember who, Chris Wilkes. There was a run there where none of them.
That was a big loss.
Went to IU, and they were all had them in the mix. At some point, I don't think Swanigan did, but at some point or another, all of them did, and so that was basically the point of it. And there was some definitely IU fans who were just tired of that and watching guys go on and play in this NCAA tournament who were guys in their own backyard. Now I think Archie Miller actually did bring in some probably more in-state talent during his tenure. For other reasons, maybe his personality or whatever just didn't vibe very well with the with IU fans.
Ability to coach, lack of an offense. I can go on and on and on. Yeah, don't worry. I'll take care of it. I'll fill in the blanks.
But yeah, it's interesting how all that, you know, I think, you know, you always hear, well, we got to close the borders, and then, you know, that's almost impossible to do. It's you know,
in this state, it is impossible.
Yeah, and you've got Purdue. I mean, Purdue has obviously made their mark, so you're not going to get everybody, but
you got Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, you know, they've had
Notre Dame, Michigan State, Ohio State, Kentucky, Louisville, Iowa, and Illinois. All have kids from Indiana on their rosters. If most of those right now, and if not generally every year, that's hard when you're competing. Those are all top Power 5 programs that you're competing against in your own backyard. That makes it difficult.
Well, and look at who
Louisville. I didn't even mention Louisville, did I?
Yeah, Louisville's right there. I mean, you know, look at those coaches. You know, Tom Izzo. You know, he'll come after Indiana guys, and he's identified them, and that normally they'll get them. You know, if he comes after them.
But Dane Fife has been a big part of that, and that's going to change quite a bit right there, and that's going to be a big help. And I think that's going to be a big help. We talked about earlier with Jalen Washington in the region. I think Dane is going to be a big help in Fort Wayne. I mean, Fort Wayne is a Purdue area, Dylan. But I think that Dane Fife is going to, because he's a Michigan, he's that Northern Indiana guy. So I think that he's going to be able to, and I just now realized that, but that's going to solve some woes there. And then what Mike Whitson brings is, you know, he's an inner city guy from Indianapolis who made it on his own. He can deal, and that's why I think he can go to Gary and do that and do things that Indiana has not been able to do recruiting wise. Period before, really, and on a consistent basis in any stretch.
Yeah, I think it's exciting times for IU fans that way. I think you've got a good staff that will know what they're going after. It's just going to, you know, you have to recruiting is kind of a momentum thing. You know, we saw it way back with Zeller, and, you know, Zeller committed, and then Yogi Ferrell committed a week later, you know, so sometimes that's the way it happens. And, you know, basketball, you don't need it's not like you're going out in football and recruiting 25 guys in a class. You know, you just need to identify who you want. I make it sound real easy, like it's real easy to do, but, you know, it's you know, there's not the overall numbers, I guess, what I'm saying. You know, if you can get a little momentum, you know, that may carry you for a couple of years, you know, and I think they can do that. It is, you know, you bring up the out-of-state schools coming in, and, you know, Chris Holtman at Ohio State he's recruited Indiana for years, even going back to Gardner Webb. I mean, he has connections. He's almost like an in-state, you know, obviously being at Butler, but he knows this state as well as anybody, you know, at Ohio State. So it is hard. I mean, this state is over-recruited. You know, look at Xavier with Travis Steele is from Danville, Indiana. I mean, he recruits this state like it's his own backyard. So it is very tough in this state for recruiting. But if you're IU, that carries more weight than anything.
Well, it does, and it has, even through some lean years, it still carried it. But when it gets strong, I think that's when they become more of an unbeatable force. Well, you go back in the day, Bob Knight's recruiting methods were, and I've always told this story, when Mike Lewis was a Purdue guy. He was going to go to Purdue, and he had Purdue stuff in his room. I think his sheets were Purdue. He told me, but the meeting with Bob Knight was in his office and his parents, and he sat down. He said, "So, Mike, think you'd like to play basketball in Indiana?" He's like, "Yeah, I think." "All right, sounds good." Slaps him on the back, walks out the door, said, "I'll have some managers come in here and take care of you guys." That was it. and left, and they turned around and said, "What just happened?" And Mike said, I guess I'm coming to Indiana." That was it, man. I was like, it's just so funny how some of these things go, but that's not the case today. But if we could get a book on those stories, man. You are the guy that needs to write a book, Cal Neddenriep, but you probably have all those great stories. And then thinking how young you are. Oh man, you can't wait till you get to book writing status. You gotta start some chapters, maybe a novelette, a series. The Neddenriep series, man. You got to have tons of stories.
I need to. My kids need to graduate high school first, and then I'll be. I need more time. I need time to put stuff like that together.
Well, we got that's 6 more. Oh no, how's the youngest one? 12? Is 12 the youngest?
12, yeah, 12 and 14.
Okay, so we got 6 years. We got to wait to just start on that. Man, the anticipation is killing me.
I know. Maybe I'll start doing some interviews.
That sounds good, buddy. I hope you have a great vacation, but a great time with your son and your family down there in the tournament. I'm doing the same this weekend, but relax and go out and enjoy that and put the phone down. Looking forward to it. I appreciate that, and you always need to recharge the batteries, so it'll be a good time. Absolutely, buddy. Thank you so much, Kyle Neddenriep. Make sure you give him a follow at Kyle Neddenriep and subscribe to the Star if you don't. I do. I'm a newspaper guy. But thank you, sir. Have a great day. You bet. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dylan. You bet. Thanks, Kyle. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here to pick up on that. We got to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back with more with Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Bob Kravitz will join us later. We got tons more. Back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Any More Honda after this.
Welcome to your extraordinary.
Whew. That was fun.
That's clip material right there.
What?
I said that's clip material right there.
Oh, that's a good. That was a good one.
Good segment. Yeah. We'll hold down while you and Kyle are doing youth sports. We'll hold down the fort here in Fort Wayne.
Dude, this thing is like glued to my hand. My ex, that's my daughter. My ex-wife, like every time I'm at a soccer game, I was always doing this. Always. She's like, "Can you not put that phone down?" I'm like, "No, I can't." It has become. I've noticed it has become. I don't want to call it an addiction, but I'm in bed all night. I'll be laying in bed for 2 hours, and I'll realize that 2 hours has gone by, and I've not stopped looking at the phone at like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just going through. Think, did I miss something here? Is there something here? And I'll just do it in rotation. And I'm like, stop.
I mean,
it's obsessive.
There is so much going on. That's the problem. We've like the last couple of weeks, especially. I mean, it's going to slow down now that they have 13 scholarships filled. But like there was a roster move every day. It was ridiculous. I mean, and not even roster moves. Guys just saying like, "I'm coming back." Like that's at that point that was a big deal. And so. And that's huge. I do think we should talk. We can talk about this with Bob later, but I think it's interesting to talk about how much momentum plays a role in recruiting because the last 2 IU coaches, Crean and Miller, have both had a class that seemed like it was going to remake the program, and then just kind of fell a little bit flat. Not completely to the point that like everything fell apart, but. The 2012 class.
The movement.
Yes, was supposed to be this huge thing. Didn't really pan out outside of Yogi. And then 2018 was kind of the same way, right? Romeo is obviously the huge get, but Jerome Hunter was supposed to be a star here. Hasn't quite happened yet because of the injury. Rob Finney was supposed to be a very, very good player. Hasn't happened quite yet. And then Forrester transferred. So they've had these classes that seem like they kind of have momentum, and then they haven't panned out. So Woodson is going to have a class like that
coming back
2022 or 23, almost certainly.
Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to the Golf Club at the Eagle Point Studios. I actually played golf yesterday at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios.
How's your swing looking,
Jim?
Jim?
Fun. Well, it depends on this shot or that shot because it changes. It's definitely a. One time I'm like, "Woo, wow, look at that," and you're like, "Ooh, God, look at that." It's funny. It really is. Golf's a great challenge of the mind, especially if you don't get to play a lot or practice a lot because it is such a precision to where the micrometer difference of angle change is all the difference, man. And it's so frustrating. But I don't get nearly as frustrated as I used to, because a long time ago, a good friend told me something. I used to get so mad. Dang it. It's like, you're not good enough to get mad. And I'm like, you're right. I'm not good enough to get mad. So I'm like, hey, I'm not good enough to be this good. So that's how the attitude you got to have. But it was fun. I got to go to French Lick over the weekend. Great time down there. Man, if you have a chance to go down, the Ross course is not expensive. But my gosh, is it those greens? Are you a golfer?
I actually am. I played golf in high school.
Dude, the greens at the Ross course, the Dye course, of course, is the main course, but the Ross course, those greens, I think they're harder.
They're tough?
They're definitely harder. They're harder than the Dye course. The Dye course, they're so unique. The Dye course is not difficult if you hit the ball straight. If you keep it, it's like anything. If you simply keep it in the fairway, you're great. If you don't, you're not going into the woods. You're going off into the abyss, like 20 feet crevices, 30 feet. It's a challenge, but it is the most beautiful place I've ever stood on. And it is just wonderful. And it's incredible. And to have that here, they also have the Symmetry Tour coming up in July. It's like the Corn Ferry Tour for women.
Okay.
And I think it's free to go to, but anybody can go to it. So you wanted an opportunity to walk around the court, man, there you go. Great chance to get down there. Seriously. And then the casino's there while you're there, who knows? But yeah, fun times. All right. Where were we? Running Slam coming up. Chris Lewis has a question with the portal. Let's get to that. Chris has got a question. With the portal, does potentially winning with a different player trump player school loyalty? Or are we losing that school? There is no loyalty. I think that is going to be individual to the coach. I think you've got some coaches we've seen. Coaches are coaches, man. Some coaches are loyal. Some coaches are not. But you also have to understand the same thing I always say to everybody. You don't know what you don't know. Goes for all of us. What went on behind the scenes? What happened with that player was something you never know. And you're never going to know most of the time. That's the thing that people don't realize. You're never going to know the real story most of the time. I'm telling you, there's so many things right now that you don't know the real story to. And maybe Dylan. I mean, Dylan, there's certain things that there are details even go deeper that we end up not knowing about.
Right.
And then like details keep trickling out about things. It's there's one I'll talk to you about later. But yeah, it continues to go. Questions. Does Woody go after the stars or the penny in the rough? Man, he's going for the best players, whatever that means. He's going for the best players to make his team the best that he can make. The players that thinks that are the best athletes, the best basketball players, and will fit the system that they need to win. Period. Yeah. It's that simple, baby. Just win, baby. I just watched that again the other night. Love it. Love Al Davis. But it's just how many in the water.
I think that's an important point though with Woodson is that at least right now he inherited a roster with there is a fair amount of talent on that roster if you can get something out of it, and so he went about kind of filling the holes that they had. Like we talked about after everyone pulled their names out of the transfer portal, he talked about we need to go get a small forward, we need to go get a shooting guard. He went and got one. He got Tamar Bates from who decommitted from Texas, and then he went and got Miller Kopp from Northwestern. He filled those holes that he talked about. So basically, at this point, they have someone at just about every position to be able to, and they have depth now, which is important. I think they could use another big man. But with his system, I think they don't really need a back-to-the-basket guy if they don't want one. It's just a question of going out and filling the holes. And I think he's done a good job of that so far. He came in after kind of looking at what they have. He decided what they needed and went out and got it. And I think that's kind of what's really exciting is not only are they getting good players, they got players at positions of need. And I think that's exciting.
Well, and they're exciting players. That's going to bring exciting play. And I was kind of alluding to this earlier, and I didn't complete it. So Jeremy kind of brought it back around. Man, I wish I knew where everybody was from. I wish we could put like where they're from. I know a lot of them. Jeremy hit us up. I love that they have a good recruiter for each region. You know, Fife is for this area. Oh, so he's up north. Hunter for out east and Rosemont for the south. And Mike Woodson, really, he can go anywhere. Seriously. And seriously, by anywhere, I mean anywhere. Inner city, country, it doesn't matter. He was a baller. He was a bad man. He's been in the league. He's coached the league. He played in the league. He's played with all these guys that are still that were in the league. He's coached the guys that are still in the league. He has the respect of the guys that are in the league now. Julius Randle that we saw. There are many, many others. It's not just him. But these kids see that, man. That carries weight. That's their heroes. Those are their heroes right now. They're watching their guys playing. Well, if that's who they respect, that carries over.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been the good thing. I mean, you talked about Julius Randle. We saw over the weekend where Mike Woodson went to that Knicks game, and basically the entire Knicks team made a point to go around there and say, hey, this is our guy, which I thought was really cool. And basically, Mike Woodson goes to talk to a recruit, goes to their home, turns on the tape, and says, hey, this is what guys who are in the league think of me. I'm going to get you there. That is a heck of a selling point for a guy who wants to get to the league and feels like he's good enough. And so that is a extremely good selling point for Woodson to have the respect of those guys. And I think that's going to be really important going forward. But I mean, the biggest thing is now that he has momentum, you got to keep it, right? You have to go out and win some games, have a good season this year, and then that momentum starts to build on itself. And that's going to be the key, because if you go out and have another mediocre season this year, then the momentum starts to wane a little bit. So you've got to go out and win this season.
Oh, absolutely. Just a little added info. Tim called the NCAA yesterday. There is no deadline to get out, up to the school's individual's deadline for registering. The only deadline is to enter the portal by July 1st. There you go. Well, that's a question. That answers the question right there. So if you're not in by July 1st, you're not changing teams.
Right.
So that means things will be set. We'll be set to go.
Essentially, yes. And then I suppose you could bring in walk-ons. Yeah. Yeah, Tim, thank you for calling the NCAA. I would like to know how long it took you to get to someone who could answer that question. I'm assuming they don't have the best customer service.
I know,
at the
man.
NCAA.
Tim is my statistician.
But yes. Yeah. So that's helpful to know.
Yeah, it is, because there are so many questions. The portal came about and it was like, what? And then all of a sudden it just blows up before we even really know all the ins and outs about it. And then rules change on top of that with this one-time transfer that man, having it all happen at once has made it crazy, partially, but we don't know so much about, a lot about it. But another comment, go ahead.
And I was going to say, because then it's going to change again here soon. If they pass name, image, and likeness, that's going to change the landscape significantly too. So
how can they not pass it?
Right. It seems it has not passed yet. It was going to pass earlier. There was some last gasp kind of opposition from a couple schools, and so I think they're going to pass that again here soon. And so people are kind of just waiting for that shoe to drop. Indiana. To Indiana's credit, they tried to get out in front of it a little bit and created the system for the players to maximize their brand while they're at Indiana, even before the NIL was started. So that's the whole thing. But that's going to change the recruiting landscape significantly as well. And some schools that are not prepared for that are probably going to be left behind, and they're going to need to get up to speed extremely quickly.
Absolutely. Let's see. One quick last thing, comment. Let's see. Bob Bates's mom said people keep saying Woody never coached college players, but he coached at the highest level. That's good enough for her and her son. You know what? It's a smart lady. Because let me tell you, here's the funny thing. They didn't coach college players. Where the hell do you think college players or pro players come from? What do you think? What do you think the average age in the NBA is? Do you realize the Wisconsin was older than the Chicago Bulls last year? Hello, you are coaching college kids in the NBA. Some of them just graduated, and some of them have not. That's just the difference. We got to take a break, man. Coming up next, the great Bob Kravitz is going to join us. That's always fun. Looking forward to talking to Bob. Seeing, I know he met with the Colts people last week. You got the draft coming up. All kinds of stuff to get to. We'll be back with it and more right here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used, fun segment.
Yeah,
that was another clip there, brother.
Just rolling along today.
John, I timed that at right about 6 to 8 minutes too. I looked down, I'm like, oh.
And I think I got 6 to 8 minutes out of the Kyle Neddenriep stuff too. So.
Oh, absolutely.
There we go.
Perfect. Perfecto mundo.
But yeah, it's what's there's Bob.
How are you, sir?
Hey. Oh, got a different hat on today.
We got the old Colorado Rockies.
Wow.
Oh, I thought it was the Avalanche.
No, they've used this logo in some of their current stuff, but this is from the 1970s Colorado Rockies.
Wow.
Wait a minute. When did the Rockies come into existence?
Well, there was a hockey team, the Colorado Rockies, in the NHL in the late 70s, early 80s, and then they moved to New Jersey.
The Nets, or what are they?
Devils.
Devils.
The Rockies were hockey, and they became the New Jersey Devils.
The Devils, yeah.
And then, to answer your question, Jim, the baseball Rockies have existed since '93.
Yes,
I was going to say.
If you go on Amazon, I wrote a book on the first year of the baseball Rockies. It's available for $4.
We have to mention that while we're actually on the air.
The royalties will start coming through.
Here is your half a penny for your year of service.
Exactly.
Bob bought his house in Hawaii on the royalties of that $4.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I had a great one of our listeners, Bob, we were always talking about the portal, and he called the NCAA, and we found out that you have to be in by July 1st. That's the deadline. We didn't know that. I didn't know that. But he actually called and got through, and it took him 1.5 hours. The guy kept putting him on. I'm going to put that up. Putting him on hold until he got the good. He waited an hour and a half to get that. Man, you're a bulldog.
You're a diehard.
Coming back.
I'll put him on.
Extraordinary destination, French Lick, West Baden, Indiana. You'll find great places to visit, to stay, to dine, and to play. We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Jim Coyle with you as always, Dylan Sinn as well from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, and we are joined by the great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Bob, how are you, sir?
I'm tremendous. I got my Colorado Hockey Rockies hat on today.
I saw that and I was like, who is that? And the Rockies, I'm like, wait a minute, went into the Rockies, and I forgot. I did not realize there was a Rockies hockey team.
Yeah, most people in Denver were not aware of it either, and that's one of the why they moved to New Jersey and they became the Devils.
That's kind of weird, though, to lose a hockey team from Colorado. I mean, that seems like a hell of a lot better a hockey place to be than New Jersey.
Well, back then, back in the late 70s, Denver was struggling because the business was not doing real well. We were going through a recession, and Denver was a struggling town at that time. So the demographics weren't very good, but they're good now.
Oh, he's talking about the other Rockies. But, yeah, hey, we mentioned earlier we had Tim reached out to the NCAA to get that answer on the portal. Say it took him an hour and a half to get that, so we thank you. Bob, welcome in. How's it been, buddy? I got to tell you, I hope that meeting was good Friday.
Oh, I know. I wanted to play so badly, and I probably would have played badly. But yeah, I went on a golf trip, and I don't think I broke 94. So I don't know how I would have played at not Crooked Stick at Pete Dye, but down in French Lick. But how'd you play?
Oh, about normal.
What's normal?
A little here, a little there.
A little here, a little there.
Yeah.
Here, most of the ball's there.
Actually, not as. I can hit the ball. I can't score, and I don't care what course you put me on. I'm gonna play pretty similar. I hit some balls well, and then I don't. But it's just some courses are a little more forgiving, and some others. I'll tell you, the Ross course, the greens are yikes. They're much tougher, much different and tougher than say the Dye. You gotta. That's what you love, the challenge. Even the Valley. Now the Little Valley course was great. We played there in the morning, and I was even after 4 holes, man.
Wow,
I'd said that to somebody. I said, I'm done. I'm out.
I'd have gone straight to the bar and said, my day is done.
I was like, man, I'm going to tear this scorecard right down the middle, and I'm leaving.
Exactly.
But the Valley course, for those of you who don't know, is just a nice little wide open, municipal looking type of thing.
All right. Well, thank you for the invitation. We'll get it another time. But yeah, I had to do a rare athletic meeting. So I had to be there.
And who was that with, by perchance?
My meeting?
Yes.
Oh, it was it was a training meeting with the athletes.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was something. Never mind.
No,
I thought we were talking about the draft, and I know there's a lot of draft stuff coming up that you're working on as well. With the coach as well. As that is looming tomorrow.
And everybody asked me who they're going to pick. I have Chris Ballard on speed dial, but that's not the sort of thing he would share with me on or off the record. I have a feeling that they're going to go with an edge rusher, whether that's Phillips or I can't even say the guy's name. Aziz Ajlari, I think is his name. Quiddy Pay. I think they're going to go with an edge rusher. I've always believed that when you're picking in the first round, you either find somebody who can get the ball in the end zone for you or who can hit the quarterback. And if you look at this draft, there are a lot of offensive tackles available. And I don't think that you necessarily have to go in the first round to get the kind of guy that you want. So I would think that they're going to go edge. I mean, they're going to go with best player available, I guess. But if the best player available is an edge, they're going to go with an edge. And then I think they come back in the second round and go with left tackle. That's my uneducated guess.
Well, we love uneducated guesses. I kind of agree with you.
It's all about, man.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you, though, because defense is always a need. And I think offensively, it's not that you can ever, especially left tackle, one of the most important, but development is something that is a lot easier in that regard. The edge rushers they're kind of they're a unique, they're unicorns. If they're great, man, they're unicorns. It's like, wow, they just don't. And it's become a different position now. Jamar Johnson from Indiana, not an edge rusher. He's a safety, but he's a hybrid. What he does, he's a hybrid. he plays safety, but he could have been an outside linebacker. I mean, the size it's crazy now how these guys can be so interplaced and positionally.
Well, and the thing is, too, that, look, you don't need a Hall of Fame left tackle. You just need somebody who's useful, somebody who's going to make sure that Carson Wentz doesn't have to run for his life every time he goes back to throw the football. And, I mean, this is already a really good offensive line, if not the best offensive line in pro football. And if you just get somebody who's usable and has a chance to grow into, becoming a Costanzo-like player, they don't need to replace Costanzo's talent. I mean, they need to replace the position. But, look, I could play left tackle next to Quentin Nelson. I'd just be like, Quentin, hit that dude.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've got the new quarterback, of course, coming in next year. So that's going to be interesting to see how they put all those pieces together. But they seem like they're in good position to compete for the division.
Well, there's no question about that. I think this division is going to get really interesting. A couple of years ago, there were no quarterbacks outside of Andrew Luck, and now you're going to have Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, Deshaun Watson in Houston. Granted, Houston's is a dumpster fire. Tennessee has got Tannehill. Now you got Wentz in Indianapolis. So I think this is going to be one of the best divisions in football. I do think that they should win the division. Whether they can hang with the Buffaloes and the Kansas Cities and people like that, I don't know. But they should make the playoffs, and to me, anything short of getting deep in the playoffs would be a big dark mark on their record.
With the resurgence of Indiana football, and if Jeff Brom can get Purdue turned around, which I'll be honest with you, I'm a little shocked that the problem. I have nothing but respect for Jeff. I've known Jeff from Louisville, and I think he's a great mind. I know they've had injury problems, but I'm still shocked at the problems they've had. But anyway, if Purdue gets going and Notre Dame is going and Indiana is going, what does that do for the Colts, for the state, for football in a basketball state?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I remember when I came here in 2000, this was still, it was basketball and racing, and the Colts were still something of an afterthought. Peyton was just going into, I guess, the second or third year, and things were starting to come around. They went 13-3 after going 3-13 his rookie year. But this has become a football town, and you look at the butterfly effect that Peyton had going all the way down to the high school level. I mean, high school football in this town is much, much better than it was in the pre-Peyton days.
Absolutely. I mean, and there are several programs that have become dominant that weren't. Class football has probably helped along with that some, I guess. But these 6A schools are formidable programs. And last year we had two former teammates playing in the national championship game across from each other, I think, with Clemson and Ohio State that played at Cathedral. And you had DeJuan from at Ohio State. DeJuan Jones? What's his name? The big dude, 6'9". He played basketball, Dylan.
Oh gosh.
Oh man. Dude, he could play basketball. He's 6'9" and is so big that you can't stop him. But anyway,
we're not Florida, we're not Texas, we're not Ohio, we're probably not Michigan, but it's a hell of a lot better than it used to be. And I'm not a big high school guy. That's my own fault. But the quality of players coming out of here, and I think that's one of the reasons that, Indiana obviously is recruiting all over the place, and they've got quite a pipeline into the Tampa area and Florida in general. But now, you can, you're not going to fill your team with Indiana kids like you might with basketball, but there are enough to keep you interested.
Absolutely. And that's why teams, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, Indiana just this week, Indiana got commitments from both of the McCullough brothers, who are they're going to be at Bloomington South this fall. But those are top 100 recruits, and Indiana has really picked up its recruiting over the last couple years here, and that's something people are considering Indiana as a football school for the first time, and I think that's something that's going to change the landscape around here as well.
I remember going when IU was fairly terrible, and my daughter went to school there, and they always used to wear T-shirts saying "We've never lost a tailgate," and to me the tailgate was always more important than the game, and
they're not. And I'll be honest with you, the tailgating is not great at Indiana.
Not anymore. But well, I don't know. I had plenty of drinks. I was happy.
Yeah, I had fun when I was there. I had fun.
Yeah, that Kharkov.
I've always been working in the dang old media, man. Dang.
Well, I used to go out before I covered a game to hang out with my daughter, and she's like, "Dad, you got to try this Kharkov vodka." You know what that is, Dylan? Kharkov?
Oh, absolutely. That was the official drink of IU when I was there.
What will that is? Oh my!
What is it? $2 a bottle?
Oh, it's absolutely gross.
It's formaldehyde.
Yes, Kamchatka. There's a vodka called Kamchatka that probably very similar that I'm very familiar with from my younger days.
What were they drinking? They were drinking Icy Lights. No, not Icy Light. It's Pittsburgh beer. Busch Light and Kharkov.
Together?
That's a hangover waiting to happen, boys.
Oh, gosh.
See, I mean, I know I was dumb in college, but I don't think I was that dumb. I was like, yeah, I'm sticking. I just did regular dumb. I had enough dumb. I had all the dumb in me I needed to add any to it. But yeah, but this year, and when we come back, we can take a quick break. I want to talk about how that can all change with COVID letting up, with tailgating, and the success of Indiana football. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic is with us. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. I'm Jim Coyle. We'll be right back after this. Brought to you by Andy Moore. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or
Hey, Jim,
John, once you start a commercial, if you start a commercial, just don't stop it. Let it roll.
Okay. What did you text me about?
I don't know.
You said something about speaker view.
When the person is talking, can it not come up? Like on Zoom, you can set it to where the person is talking comes up.
Let me hold on.
Full box.
Let me try something real quick.
That always scares me when guys say, "Well, let me try something."
Here's the thing. It says solo layout.
Hey, hold my view. Hey, hold my beer.
See? There we go.
There you go.
I can click on each individual person if you want me to do that. Do you want me to start doing that?
But like, Zoom has it set to speaker view. Whoever's speaking, it just does that.
Well, this is different on here. This ain't Zoom.
Well, I understand that it's not Zoom. I was just giving you a full instance.
I'm not trying to be rude. I just wanted to make that comment.
Oh, God. How are you doing, Bob?
If I click on this one.
How's your summer going so far? I guess early summer.
Good. Playing a little golf. If you get a chance, I've got a Q&A with Kevin Pritchard going this afternoon. That's pretty interesting. The president. So if at some point you mention, what are you up to?
Well, that's coming up. Don't worry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I got a couple of things working, and we got the draft starting tomorrow. So I'm busy. It's a weird job. I don't want me to write 4 times a week anymore, so I don't.
Are you buying the momentum with IU basketball, Bob? Obviously, the excitement around the program, I guess.
Not as much as everybody else. No. I mean, let's see what he does. Down the road. Let's. I mean, all these new players, none of them have come from a winning program. And that bothers me a little bit. That sometimes you can be a good player and put up nice numbers for a crappy team. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, coming back.
We are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope, furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to the Golf Club, Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dylan Sinn and Bob Kravitz here, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Man, the Pacers up and down the year, are they just to the point to where they look towards next year? Or I mean, they're still fighting, but
yeah, they're still fighting. They're only 4.5 games out of 4th place. They're also only 2 games ahead of 10th place. So they're kind of treading water. I just think this has been kind of a mulligan year. I mean, they've had some. I don't want to make excuses, but
they have a lot of injuries.
For God's sake, you know who they started last night? Edmund Summer, O'Shea Brissett, and Jakar Sampson.
Who are they?
I'm sorry, you got no
former
chance.
Mad Ants is who they are.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I just don't see how you can expect to really compete when you don't have Miles. You don't have Domas. You don't have TJ Warren. You don't have Jeremy Lamb. You don't have Goga Batadze, who I think is starting to come on and show what he can do. And you've got all these guys playing in spots they don't normally play in. I've been really impressed by TJ McConnell and Doug McDermott. I think they've had really wonderful years. Brogdon has been really, really good and consistent. But when you're missing, and Levert had a kidney removed, for God's sake. I originally thought it was just a tumor. No, it was the whole damn kidney. And it takes a while to come back from major surgery. So to expect him to be coming back and putting up 25 a game is unrealistic. So I think this is just kind of one of those years. I think, honestly, they would be better off missing the playoffs altogether and getting the lottery.
Yep, I agree with you. At least they're fighting to do it, and I hope that they fight all the way and they fall just a little short for their benefit.
That would be fine. They're not tanking. I'll give them credit for that. They never tank, and some teams, Philadelphia 76ers, they will tank for years and years and years, because they know that they can afford some lean years, but the Pacers can't do that. But I do think that this would be a perfect year to somehow miss the playoffs, because you're not really rebuilding. Next year you're going to have all your guys back, presumably, and I just think it makes sense they haven't had a top 10 a pick in single digits since George McLeod in the 1990s. I mean, it's been a long time since they've had a pick in I think the highest pick they've had since then is Paul George at number 10.
Wow.
So they need to dip their toe into the lottery, and
because they're not a team that spends a lot of money on bringing big guys in. They don't have tons of money to do it, I guess.
It's not so much a money thing. They just can't get guys to come here. I mean, really? David West was the biggest name guy we've had come through here as a free agent. And David is just a different kind of guy. Malcolm Brogdon, also a different kind of guy. He chose to come here. But for the most part, it's not a matter of not spending. Who are you going to spend the money on? Who's the free agent who says, damn, I really want to go to Indianapolis? I mean, we love Indianapolis. It's my home. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else now. But, if you're a 22, 23, 24-year-old single basketball player, is Indiana your first choice? Probably not.
Indianapolis isn't too bad. But speaking of Indianapolis and resident, Mark Emmert was extended by the NCAA yesterday, which no surprise, but
did you see how they did that?
No.
They came out with a whole news release And at the very end of the news release, they had a little note that said also Mark Emmert was renewed until 2025. Burying the lead.
I mean, it's, I don't know what else they would do because they're not going to dump him right now. But that is a crap show that just continues to roll on in this perpetual motion of going nowhere because there is too much going on that leads to the future that I think he is trying to stand in the way of. Not that I'm thinking all that stuff's good, but you have to find a way to navigate it because it is not going away. And the more you keep sticking your head in the sand by ignoring the players, by refusing to meet with them, they're lucky the players did not boycott the NCAA Final Four. They really am.
I agree with you. And we started to see some of that stuff during the Big Ten tournament that, guys saying or during the NCAA tournament, we're saying we're not NCAA property. I think players are finding their voice more and more. But I think, the NCAA is not going to do anything until it's required by the courts or by the government. And the sooner the NCAA gets off this whole amateurism model, the better for them.
Well,
I agree.
To that point, Bob, I mean, Florida passed the law with NIL, with name, image, likeness, and immediately the NCAA basically almost immediately caved. It was like, okay, we'll do something with that, right? Because their hand was forced, and they basically realized, okay, we've lost this battle, and they went out and they haven't passed it yet, but it seems like they have momentum to pass it pretty soon here. And so you're right. I think that once their hand is forced, they're going to fold. It just depends on when that happens.
Right. There's no question. I mean, either the government or the courts are going to get involved. And, Mark Emmert is a dinosaur, and every guy they've had in there has been a dinosaur. And look, this is not, and I can say that because I'm a dinosaur. I recognize it. No, it's a bad situation. And Mark Emmert, I mean, the whole thing with the women's basketball and their weight room, I mean, these guys are so tone deaf. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's so we know it's not going to change, not with him in there.
No.
And now you're looking at 2025. That cannot make anybody that is fighting that feel good in any way. And us, what the world's going to go on? Because I know how much of a mess it is. The name, image, likeness is a gigantic mess, but it's going to be a gigantic mess because they didn't address it years ago and set a plan that would have probably cost them tons less, would have solved all the issues, and would have made everything seamlessly. But instead of that, Mark Emmert continued to stick his head in the ground, and now it's going to cost them millions. It will probably change. Well, it will change college sports in ways that we don't even know, but definitely for the worst. And I don't know how bad it could possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting with name, image, likeness. Does that mean that, that a booster with a ton of money, maybe a car dealership, can pay the local quarterback, $10,000 for coming out and giving 5 autographs? How is this going to work? I agree that name, image, likeness, these kids, just ethically, these kids ought to be able to make some coin off of their name, image, and likeness. There's no question. I'll be honest with you. I've never been one who believed in flat out paying the players because I think there's Title IX considerations. And how do you decide who gets what? I mean, does the third string punter make as much as Trevor Lawrence, or the quarterback anyway? Nobody has told me yet how that's supposed to work.
And that's the problem, because unlike in the professionals, it's based on merit, man. The best players make the most money. Well, and that's how it should be. And then you're going to have men and women because they want equality. Well, but it's not equal. The women's programs don't bring in the money. The men's programs do. And then there's so many discussions. Men's and women's soccer, the U.S. soccer, the dispute there. People want equal money. Well, it's not about that. The men don't get more money because they're men. They get more money because their TV rights are so substantially larger. That is why they get more money. Well, you're just lucky that they're part of that group. I'm sorry, but that's how it worked out. I'd like to make more money, but that's not how it's working out for me. There's guys that in this century that make millions. Bob Kravitz. I'd like to be Bob Kravitz, but I'm not. It's life, man.
You want my daughter's college loans? They're all yours.
Yeah, buddy. I've got my own. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's just life. Sometimes life is life, man, and you just got to accept some realities.
It's unfair sometimes.
What is coming up with you, Bob, next? I know you got some stuff you're working on.
Yeah. Well, obviously we got the draft starting tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I'll be writing quite a bit off that. If you're a Pacers fan, you'll want to check out the Athletic sometime early this afternoon. I just did about a 3,000 word Q&A with Pacers president Kevin Pritchard, who talked about what's going on this season, why Aaron Holiday's not playing, the challenges that he faces running a small market team. It's very interesting. He was very candid, and I think people will find it interesting. And I've got a piece going probably Monday. Your buddy and mine, Bo Borowski, kept a diary for me.
No kidding.
During the NCAA tournament. And so I didn't run it as a diary. I'm doing it as an told to group of observations. And I think it's really enlightening, just the things that the referees dealt with. And especially in a year when 6 guys got sent home the day after they arrived in the bubble. And then, of course, the Bert Smith scare when he collapsed. So he got into those things. So that should be in the Athletic, I would think, probably Monday.
Yeah, and I noticed the NBA is like 9 officials short right now. They have an official shortage,
right,
because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, what do you have coming up?
Yeah, we have NFL draft coverage of the Journal-Gazette. We have a couple of local guys, Ben Skoranek and Dwayne Eskridge, who are possibly going to be drafted. So I have stories on them, and then I will be, fingers crossed, at the Run and Slam this weekend in the Blue Gold game on Saturday in South Bend, Notre Dame spring game. So got a lot going on.
Dylan works a lot harder than I do.
He's young, man. He's young.
You're young upcomer.
Yeah, you've earned it, Bob.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, I can't thank both of you enough, as always. Most importantly, thanking all of you guys. Without you, there's nothing for us to be here. But go out and do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.